Hi guys, welcome to RADWORLD. My name is Xeno and I'm here to introduce and host a segment for the channel called Retro Corner, where I will be talking about one retro video game in each video that I have a little bit of history playing and enjoying, and that I would love to share with others who may not have played it yet, who may be a little unsure about whether it is something they want to try, and also for those that maybe have had their own experiences with it. For those of you that have had experiences with the games or simply want to chat about it, all your comments are appreciated, so feel free to let loose down below. If anything, we can refer to the series as a quick retrospective of lots of different video games. Before we get started, I have a little housekeeping to go over. This isn't meant to be a concise, in-depth review of the game, although I will be mentioning some facts to do with the game, such as date of release and a few names of people involved in developing it. If I make a mistake with some of that, feel free to correct me and let me know down in the comments. Okay, so enough of that, let's get into today's Retro Corner video. If I was to describe how I felt about Final Fantasy VIII, I would have to say that this game is the entry in the series that I am most conflicted about. On one hand, this might have been the game that I was most hyped for when I had heard about it, and that was due to how much I had enjoyed Final Fantasy VII. But on the other hand, the hype has long died down, and it's still Final Fantasy VIII. I had originally played Final Fantasy VIII for the first time when I hired it for a week from a Video Easy store. Hands up how many people remember what those are, right? Oh, and extra points go to the two people in the back that still keep the lights on at their local video stores. You guys are the true MVPs. I remember playing through about 20 minutes of the game, leaving for a few hours and then going back and having no idea what I was meant to do, where I was meant to go, or how to advance the story, so I had to start again. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing though, because before the week was up, I had reached Ultimecia's castle with a lot of missing weapons and the bare minimum of Guardian Forces, or GFs for short. Needless to say, I ended up finishing the game that week, and although it's been one of the games in the series that I've owned lots of copies of over the years, second only to the Final Fantasy X games, I didn't actually finish it until sometime late last year, which might be why I kind of felt a little apprehensive about even making this video to begin with, but in the end I figured, what the hell. Final Fantasy VIII is a role-playing video game developed and published by Squaresoft for the PlayStation console. Released in 1999, it is the 8th main installment in the Final Fantasy series. Set on an unnamed fantasy world with science fiction elements, the game follows a group of young mercenaries led by Squall Leonhardt as they are drawn into a conflict sparked by Ultimecia, a sorceress from the future who wishes to compress time. During the quest to defeat Ultimecia, Squall struggles with his role as leader and develops a romance with one of his comrades, Renoa Hart-Tilly. Development began in 1997 during the English localization of Final Fantasy VII. The game builds on the visual changes brought to the series by Final Fantasy VII, including the use of 3D graphics and pre-rendered backgrounds. While also departing from many Final Fantasy traditions, it's the first Final Fantasy to use realistically proportioned characters consistently, have a song with vocals as its theme music, and not have the use of magic points for spellcasting. In fact, the way in which magic is handled in this entry in the series has been a big point of contention, and it still stands as one of the most divisive choices with regards to battle systems and squad management to date. This can normally be summed up in two words: junctioning system. Gameplay in Final Fantasy VIII is set out in the same way Final Fantasy VII was, with the world map, field map, and the battle screen as the three main modes. The world map is a 3D display in which a player may navigate freely across a small scale rendering of the game world. Characters travel across the world map in a variety of ways, including by foot, car, chocobo, train, and airship. The field map consists of controllable 3D characters overlaid on one or more 2D pre-rendered backgrounds, which represent environmental locations such as towns or forests. The battle screen is a 3D model of a location such as a street or room where turn-based fights between playable characters and CPU-controlled enemies take place. The interface is menu-driven as in previous titles, but with the typical weapon and armor systems removed and new features present such as the junction system. Also featured is a collectible card-based minigame called Triple Triad. Final Fantasy VIII features an experience point system quite different from other games in the series. The essentials remain unchanged, such as characters gain XP after after defeating enemies, which are typically encountered randomly throughout the game's environments. Earning a set amount of XP causes the character to gain a level, which increases their overall statistics, while previous titles feature an XP curve that increases with each level, e.g. getting to level 2 requires 200 XP, level 3 requires 400, etc. Characters in Final Fantasy VIII gain a level after accumulating a flat rate of 1000 points. Enemy levels are based on the party's average level. In most RPGs, enemy levels remain stagnant. Some bosses have level caps to prevent the main quest from becoming too difficult. Higher level enemies are capable of inflicting and withstanding significantly more damage, may have additional special attacks, and carry additional magic spells, allowing for junctioning bonuses which themselves far exceed the bonuses imparted by level gain. The game's unique XP and level system allows a player to grind to maximum level 100 before even beginning the plot, though this will result in far more powerful enemies. In addition to gaining levels, Guardian Forces earn ability points after battles, which are automatically allocated to special abilities that Guardian Forces can learn. When a Guardian Force has learned an ability, that ability becomes available for any character or the character party, as is the case with field abilities. These abilities allow characters to attack more efficiently, refine magic spells from items, receive stat bonuses upon leveling up, access shops remotely, and use additional battle commands. One of my favorite aspects of Final Fantasy VIII is its side quests, especially Triple Triad. This card game is at once fun and addictive, as well as frustrating in equal measure. This is a very fast gloss over of it, but this minigame contains elements that are related to GFs, crafting, and also other story aspects. The best part about this minigame is that it is unlocked almost instantly after starting the game, and it can provide some welcome downtime during the more story heavy sections of the main story. Although I really enjoyed the score of Final Fantasy VII, one aspect of Final Fantasy VIII that I feel outdid the previous entry was its soundtrack. Final Fantasy VIII has some of my all-time favorite gaming music, and it was probably one of the first times I had ever played a game and then gotten into a specific point where I stopped playing just so I could listen to the music playing. It's hard for me to explain what has made these tracks so memorable for so long, but the amount of nostalgia wrapped up in each one is over the top. Here are some of my favorites.
Never say my songs.
The soundtrack for Final Fantasy VIII is always going to stand head and shoulders as one of the greatest OSTs from the Squaresoft games of the 90s. Do everyone a favor and share your favorites from the soundtrack in the comments section. At the end of the day, I still think of myself as one of those people that didn't like Final Fantasy VIII all that much to begin with, but I eventually grew to enjoy it. The enemies that level up along with the characters is probably one of the things that I still don't enjoy. This is one thing I hate in all RPGs actually, but it's something I learned to deal with, and this game also became one of the few that I bothered to try and break. I don't enjoy doing that and don't recommend it if you can help it. It felt like it sucked the fun out of it, but that might just be me. Although other YouTubers YouTubers have made a whole list of videos talking about doing just that. I don't really have much to say about this game. It is what it is, and if you can sit down and enjoy it on its own merits in a way that you enjoy, then more power to you. I do consider this to be the middle child of the 3 mainline Final Fantasy games released on the original PlayStation, and feel like something is missing if this isn't put in with Final Fantasy VII and IX. So although it is one of the most divisive games in the series, for some it was their first and remains their favourite. Thanks for sitting through the video. If you have any comments, feel free to share them down below. Please subscribe to see more videos from the channel, and like always, a like is most appreciated, but a dislike is also cool too. I'm Xeno, and I'm out of here.